Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Wonder Podcast. First Thoughts. This is the edition of our show that is spoiler free. If you want the spoiler laden, in-depth talk, go check that out over on the channel, the longer, more in-depth version. But this week we are talking about Curry Barker's new film, Obsession, which is in theaters right now. This film premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival. That's why I got my TIFF hat on, represent. And it was made for like $750,000 in LA. They sold this thing in a bidding war to Focus Features for a chunk of change. And that's what gave it this kind of prestige push. They were able to do a few reshoots and give it this big marketing push, and it's doing really well right now, and it's an incredibly well-reviewed film. It's got a ton of hype around it. Everybody's talking about this movie on the internet, and after seeing it, I can say pretty confidently that it earns the hype. You walk out of this movie, I mean, this movie was so good, it kind of hurt my feelings. It was just kind of like, how dare that kid be so good at making movies. I feel like there's another movie coming up later this month that's going to make me feel the same way, because Curry's like, I think he's 26, and Backrooms comes out later this month, and that was made by a 20-year-old, and me at 38, I'm just like, how dare these kids come in here making such great films. But also, it does excite me that people from the internet space. Curry is known for his YouTube channel and Instagram and TikTok channel, That's a Bad Idea, a sketch comedy channel that he does with Cooper Tomlinson. Cooper is also in the movie Obsession. He plays Ian. I think Cooper's a really funny and talented actor. And I also think that, like, it's important to mention Cooper because I think Cooper gets left out of a lot of the online talk about Obsession and about Curry's filmmaking. But, like, Cooper and Curry have been tied at the hip for like several years now, and they've done a lot together. And I think that Cooper is a big part of Curry's development as a filmmaker and as a storyteller. And their next film that's already shot, that's called Anything But Ghost, they co-wrote together, and I think Curry directed it, and they both star in it. So, you know, I just want to give a little shout out to Cooper there. But the real star of the cast of Obsession, and this is what everyone's talking about, is Indy Navarrete as Nikki. This is an absolute powerhouse movie star making role. She's about to be everywhere, and this is going to go down in history as like one of the great performances in horror film history. I always say that, like, one thing about the horror genre that intrigues me is what it puts the actors through and the performances that you get. I feel like it's too bad that traditionally the Academy doesn't like to nominate performances from horror films, because I think some of the most impressive performances I've ever seen have been in horror movies. I'm thinking about Toni Collette in Hereditary. I'm thinking about Florence Pugh in Midsommar. Or Midsummer, I don't know. I never know how to pronounce that one. But both of those are Ari Aster films. But both of those performances are like, they're such like visceral, stomach churning performances. Indy Navarrete's performance in this she's tapping into colors and vibes and choices that are, you don't really see them in these other performances. Usually what happens, and it's always like, I always feel bad for actresses, especially for women in these movies, because I feel like the horror genre puts women through a lot and is like asking a lot of its female leads. And I mean, typically, like, that's where you get like the whole Scream Queen thing from. But Indy Navarrete is doing the kind of work in this movie that's just like, it's not just the typical put blood and mud all over your face and scream a bunch and cry a bunch. There are other colors here to her performance, and there's a physicality to her performance, and it's something really, really special and magnetic, and it's one of the things that makes the film really, it carries the film to the finish line. I started feeling at like the 20-minute mark, near the end of the first act, I started wondering, like, this is a pretty simple premise. How much is he going to be able to get out of this? Is it just going to be a series of sequences where this guy goes, oh, geez, my girlfriend sure is acting crazy? And is it just going to be like different scenarios for her to act crazy in? And is that, like, can that sustain an entire film? And then I just kept finding myself like so taken by Indy Neverett's performance, that she was the thing that kept leveling up scene to scene. And also the plot does go in ways that I think it develops it in ways that you're not expecting. And I think that Curry as a writer has a really good sense for like how to bring in elements that you're not expecting. Because if you've seen any of the promotional material for the show, again, this is a spoiler-free chat, you know that this is just sort of a be careful what you wish for, wish gone wrong story. We've seen these before, right? It's the episode of Treehouse of Horror on The Simpsons where Homer wishes on a monkey paw, and, you know, and every wish that he has comes with a caveat that it's not going to be quite what you expected. In fact, Curry Barker literally talked about how that episode of The Simpsons inspired him to bring the wish element into the film. But what I think that he does that's really smart is, and again, this is without getting into too many details, there's a few things here that could make this really kind of more surface level and more expected. One is that I think from the jump, knowing the premise is this guy, Bear, has a big crush on his friend from high school, Nikki, who he now works with at a music store. He doesn't know how to tell her. And instead of just being direct with her and communicating his feelings to her, he makes this wish on this cursed magic item, this one wish willow that he buys at like a new age shop. And it works. He wishes for her to be in love with him. But of course, this wish, because it's a be careful what you wish for movie, goes sideways. And the new version of her that's in love with him is also, she's like dangerously, scarily obsessed with him. And that's why the movie's called Obsession. And I think that the surface level take would be to just make Bear more of an obvious villain. Like, he's putting this woman in a situation she does not want to be in against her will. We don't like Bear. And I think that it could be a more surface level commentary on just how the male loneliness epidemic is the fault of men because men don't know how to respect the agency of women and the personhood of women. But I think Curry smartly makes Bear a character who is more relatable than that and more three-dimensional than that. I'm not, again, without giving any, I don't want to give away too much because those elements are in there, by the way. The commentary on the male loneliness epidemic and on, men putting their own feelings first and ignoring the personhood and the personal emotional experience of the woman that is the object of their affection. Those themes are definitely in this film, but Bear is a more nuanced character than just guy who can't understand that the girl he has a crush on is a person. There's more to it than that. I think what's smart that Curry does is he doesn't have Bear immediately accept that his wish came true and that's why this is happening. And I think that's smart because if you did this in real life, if you had a crush on someone and then you wished on like a magic toy that you found in a store that they liked you back and then they told you that they liked you back, I don't think you would immediately go, oh my God, my wish on the cursed toy came true. I think that you would be like imagining like, okay, that's a coincidence. That's weird that right after I made this wish, they tell me that they like me. But Bear kind of investigates Nikki early on to be like, is this, you actually like me? And she gives him some plausibility to hang on to be like, no, yeah, this has been going on for a while. Like I've felt this way since before you made whatever wish you made. And so I think that Curry's smart to do that, to make Bear a character that we don't immediately just despise, even though we do know that like fundamentally what's going on here is not okay, because we know that the relationship is the result of this wish. We know that Nikki's not necessarily in choice about the thing. But then the other smart move that Curry makes here is there's this question with this particular kind of wish in movies that Curry wisely addresses. And he addresses it just enough. And it's this exact question comes up weirdly in the movie Wonder Woman 1984. In that movie, Diana, spoiler alert for Wonder Woman 1984. It's not a very good movie. You don't need to see it. But if you have seen it, Diana is sad because Chris, he's one of the Chris Pine's character died in the first film, and that whole movie revolves around this ancient relic that they find that you can wish on. It's a wish movie, and Diana wishes for Chris Pine's character to come back to life. But in order for him to come back to life, rather than just sort of like resurrecting the man, his spirit, his consciousness inhabits the body of a different guy, of like a guy who just lives in 1984, and he just gets taken over by Chris Pine's consciousness. But then the question is like the question that everybody in the audience had, and this happened online. There was an online conversation about this. The question everybody had was like, yeah, but what happened to that guy then? Like, where is that guy? If Chris Pine is taking over his body, where's the guy? And Wonder Woman 1984 doesn't ever even approach answering that question. It's not interested at all in the moral implications and ethical implications of like what's going on while Diana is using this man's body against his will so that she can like hook up with her dead boyfriend from the 40s. Where is this man's consciousness while that's taking place? And Wonder Woman 84 is not interested in even touching that conversation with a 10-foot pole. And it's so weird because like they didn't even need to do it that way. They could have just done it where she wishes for Chris Pine to be back alive and he just is. They didn't have to like take over someone else's body. But Curry Barker, this being a horror film, wisely brings in the element of like the question of, okay, if Nikki's brain has been changed by the wish so that she is now a person who is in love with Bear, where is the other version of Nikki? Is the other version of Nikki in some sort of sunken place like the movie Get Out? It like what's going on there? And I again, I don't want to get too deep into it. I'm just saying I think it's smart that Curry knows that these questions are interesting and potent and cinematic and help to boost the horror of his film. And there's just a lot of choices that I think really work, from the lighting to the cinematography. I think the way that they used their money for this movie for $750,000 was really effective and smart. And I think it just shows that like you can do a lot with a little if you've got good instincts. And I think if you go and look at Curry Barker's work on YouTube, if you go and do a deep dive and watch his short horror films that he's made, like Chair or Warnings, or if you watch his last feature that he made, Milk and Cereal, even without the money there, you can see the instincts. You can see that like the guy's just got good ideas and he knows how to execute them well. And you just give him a little bit of money, not even $1 million, and he was able to turn in something that all of these major studios wanted to have a bidding war over, and it's turned into this major success. And really happy for him. Really excited about just like where indie horror is right now. Really excited about the kind of YouTube creator to filmmaker pipeline. I think that's all really cool, and really excited to talk more in depth about this movie with Kramer on the spoiler version of our chat on the full length podcast. But right now I'm going to turn it over to my co-host. Take it away, Kramer.
Obsession. That's what we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review on right now for our first thoughts. Obsession is written, directed, and edited by Curry Barker, the YouTube skit comedian. I'm sure he's has a lot more than that. I didn't really know him before I saw this movie, but I've been watching a lot of his stuff, and it's really good. And I gotta say, Obsession was amazing. This is probably one of the best movies I've seen this year. It was absolutely terrifying. It's not a traditional horror movie, and I really haven't. It's very similar to Weapons in many, many ways. It's very similar to Weapons, not in any story details, just kind of how the feel. It's just a little bit more off-putting, a little unsettling, a little unnerving, and it just is uncomfortable, right? So it's not these traditional horror movies where there's a monster. But it is still extremely terrifying and very off-putting, but also extremely engaging. I went to see this movie with my friend, which I really liked. because it was just scary, and it was just a better experience. We both loved it, and we were both very scared when we got home. So it's a really, really good movie, and there is a lot of interesting things going on. The premise is very simple. Ultimately, this is just kind of a wish gone wrong movie, right? He makes a wish for the girl that he has a huge crush on, that he has loved for a long time. He wishes that she will love him more than anyone else in the whole world. And that obviously backfires. Curry Barker he had the idea for this movie. He had an idea about an obsession, right? But when he watched the Simpsons episode, it's the Treehouse of Horror 2. It was like in season 3. It was the second one. It's about the monkey paw. That's what really opened the story for him. And this is kind of a monkey paw situation where you wish for something, but be careful what you wish for, and everything goes wrong. And it's one of the best things about this movie is that the main actress, let me find her name, and I don't even know if I'm gonna say it right, but Indy Navarrete. I'm sure that I'm butchering that. She plays Nikki. She was absolutely amazing. Like I was totally blown away by how well she did, because she walks this line between really like cute and endearing and like a normal girl, and then she goes completely crazy, and then she goes completely scary. And it's amazing how she can work through all of those. And all the actors in this, nobody is really big. There's no big name actors, but I think they all did really well. And this movie just ticked all the boxes for me. I really loved it. The thing about Curry Barker, since he is the editor, I found it very, very interesting. He doesn't cut a lot. There's not a lot of cuts in this movie. The camera is not moving a lot. It's pretty locked down. It's kind of on, it's just on sticks the whole time. It seems like just on a tripod. But that's not a bad thing. It all works perfectly for this movie. And I really appreciate the longer takes. Like they're not drawing attention to themselves. It's just long takes that are pretty unsettling and just make you feel off. The sound design is also great. The score was really, really good. They all do a great job working together to make you feel uncomfortable, and to also add to the scary atmosphere that the whole movie has. It was really, really great. Like I'm really excited to get into this with Austin, because I have some ideas. The ending, I really liked the ending. I have some other ideas that could have possibly happened, and I'm sure that there's more. But I really am excited to get into this with Austin, see what his take is, see what he thinks about it, because this movie is probably one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. And if you watched our episode I guess it was last year, on Weapons, I loved Weapons, and Austin loved Weapons, but I really loved Weapons. I think I like this more. And they're both awesome. They're both great. And it's also, everybody's been saying this, right? Curry Barker, Zach Kreger, and Jordan Peele are all kind of coming from this same spot where they did sketch comedy, or they did comedy, and now they're doing these really interesting horror movies that are kind of separate from the genre. They're still in the genre, but they're elevated horror or whatever. But this movie was great. I mean, it's getting a lot of buzz. It is very well earned. I really, really loved it. And it's amazing they only shot this for $1 million. It's pretty amazing. The whole story is pretty awesome. So I'm a huge fan, super excited to get into it. Let us know what you think in the comment, or what you're expecting from the movie. But if you have seen it, let us know. And keep an eye out for our full episode, where we are going to get into the spoilers. I think we're going to break this one down pretty good. So look out for that, and it will come in the next few days. And I'm excited to talk about it. Let us know what you think. Tell us if you loved it, hated it, whatever, but tell us your thoughts, because I love talking about this movie. So let us know what you think, and we will see you on the next one.